She sat there, tears streaming down her face, acting like she was the victim in all of this. Like she was the one who lost everything. She cried to the police. She pleaded ignorance. She told investigators her daughter was fine, just visiting friends out of state. She really thought she could lie her way out of it. But then the evidence played, and everything changed. The courtroom went silent. The lies crumbled. One innocent child gone, her body hidden for over a year, and the proof was all right there in digital records, text messages, and her own words. Still, she didn't own up to it. She blamed her boyfriend. She blamed circumstances. She tried to flip the script and make it look like tragedy, not murder. But nobody was buying it, because the evidence said it all. No more lies, no more cover-ups, just cold, hard truth. And in that moment, she knew. She wasn't walking out free, not after what they found, not after what she did. This is the devastating case of Jacqueline Mimi Torres Garcia, the 11-year-old girl whose mother's deadly neglect exposed catastrophic failures in a system meant to protect children. October 8, 2025. New Britain, Connecticut. 2 anonymous calls come into police. There's something behind the abandoned house on Clark Street. Something that shouldn't be there. Officers arrive just after 1 p.m. The property is vacant, overgrown, forgotten. Behind the house, they find a large storage tote, and when they open it, they discover something that will haunt this community forever. Inside plastic trash bags, wrapped in bed sheets and placed alongside a laundry basket, are the skeletal remains of a child. White powder poured over everything, a desperate attempt to hide the smell of death. The medical examiner is called immediately. This isn't an accident. This isn't a child who wandered off and tragically died. This is something else entirely. And investigators are about to uncover a web of lies, abuse, and systemic failure that let an 11-year-old girl disappear for over a year while she was already dead. 2 blocks from where that body was found, police locate an apartment on Tremont Street. That's where Carla Garcia lives with her children and her sister. Detectives need answers. They need to know which child is missing, and they need to know now. Watch how quickly the story shifts. One moment, all her children are fine. The next, she's asking what they mean when they say someone is missing. This is the moment the walls start closing in. But Carla isn't ready to tell the truth yet. She has one more card to play. Blame someone else. While Carla is spinning her version of events, detectives are interviewing her ex-boyfriend, Jonathan Nanita, in another room. And his story, completely different. First, he doesn't know. Then he does. First, he hasn't seen her in years. Then it was January, or maybe March. Every answer raises more questions. And detectives know someone is lying. 2 people. 2 completely different stories, both pointing fingers at each other. But the evidence doesn't care about blame games. The evidence is about to reveal something far more disturbing. The body is identified through dental records as Jacqueline Mimi Torres Garcia. She was 11 years old, and what the medical examiner discovered will shock you. Mimi weighed 27 pounds when she died. 27 pounds. An 11-year-old girl should weigh between 70 and 80 pounds. This wasn't a medical condition. This wasn't an accident. This was starvation. Deliberate, prolonged, fatal, cause of death, fatal child abuse with starvation, manner of death, homicide, time of death, approximately September 2024. That means for over a year, while Mimi's body was decomposing in that storage bin, her family was living their lives, moving apartments, going about their days, acting like nothing happened, and nobody knew. Nobody except the people who killed her. Hours into the investigation, detectives bring Carla Garcia back in. They have the medical examiner's preliminary findings. They have Nanita's statement. And they have evidence from her phone. It's time for the truth. Listen to how the story changes now. This isn't denial anymore. This is admission. And what she reveals is beyond comprehension. Carla admits she and Nanita stopped feeding Mimi approximately 2 weeks before her death. They used zip ties to restrain her as punishment. Mimi was kept in the corner of a room, sometimes for hours, sometimes for days. No bathroom breaks, no food. just restraints and isolation until she wasted away to nothing. Investigators have seized phones from everyone in the household, and what they find on those phones will prove this wasn't a moment of neglect. This was systematic abuse, documented and shared like it was normal. Text messages between Carla and her sister Jacqueline, photos of Mimi restrained with zip ties, lying on pee pads meant for pets, not children, timestamps throughout 2024, messages discussing the abuse with the same casual tone you'd use to talk about dinner plans. But here's what's truly chilling. In Carla's phone notes, investigators find something that reveals her mindset. She'd been planning to go public with Mimi's death. She had notes for a podcast appearance, talking points for her version of events, a carefully constructed narrative where she's the victim. She wasn't remorseful. She wasn't broken. She was strategic. All while her daughter's body decomposed in a storage bin. Now we need to talk about how Mimi disappeared for over a year without anyone noticing. And this is where the story gets even more disturbing. The Department of Children and Families had been involved with this family for years. Multiple investigations, multiple reports. They'd closed cases, deemed the children safe, and moved on. But in January 2025, 4 months after Mimi was already dead, they received a new report about one of Mimi's siblings. DCF needed to check on all the children in the home, but Carla told them Mimi was being homeschooled out of state. She was visiting relatives. She'd be back soon. The date kept changing, but DCF, overwhelmed and understaffed, agreed to something unprecedented, a wellness check via Zoom. On that video call, a caseworker saw a child. A child Carla claimed was Jacqueline. The child looked healthy, answered basic questions. The case was closed in March 2025. That child wasn't Mimi. It was another child in the family, made to impersonate her dead sister. A well-orchestrated deception, and DCF didn't catch it. But the system's failures started even earlier. June 2024, 3 months before Mimi died. Carla Garcia went before a family judge seeking sole custody of her children. The hearing lasted less than 10 minutes. Audio recordings show the judge asked minimal questions. No one reviewed Carla's 2019 assault conviction. No one examined DCF's involvement with the family. No one discussed the fact that Jacqueline Garcia, a convicted child abuser who'd just been released from prison, was living in the home. In the interest of the children, sole custody granted. 10 days after getting sole custody, Mimi's father saw her for the last time at her 5th grade graduation. Every request after that was met with excuses. She's not home. She's with friends. She's busy. 3 months later, she was dead, and her father, who'd been desperately trying to see her, had no legal recourse to force access. The system gave Mimi to her killer, and nobody asked enough questions to stop it. 6 days after Mimi's body was found, 3 people stand before a judge facing murder charges. Carla Garcia, Jonathan Nanita, Jacqueline Garcia. All 3 held on bond, all 3 facing decades in prison, and all 3 still maintaining they're somehow less guilty than the others. The courtroom is packed with Mimi's family, dozens wearing sweatshirts with her smiling face. Her grandfather, who called her his everything, sitting in the front row. The tension is unbearable. Over the following weeks, each suspect takes a different legal approach. Carla waives her probable cause hearing, entering a not guilty plea. She's saving her defense for trial, where she'll likely claim she was a victim of domestic abuse, controlled by Nanita, afraid for her own safety. Nanita exercises his right to a probable cause hearing, scheduled for December. His attorneys are looking for weaknesses, trying to poke holes in the prosecution's case before trial even begins. Jacqueline also pleads not guilty. Her charges are lesser: cruelty to a child, unlawful restraint. Her attorneys position her as someone who witnessed abuse, but wasn't the primary perpetrator. She might be angling for a cooperation deal. 3 defendants, 3 different stories, each blaming the other. But the evidence doesn't care about their strategies. The prosecution has an arsenal of proof. Medical examiner testimony showing deliberate starvation over weeks. Photos documenting the abuse while Mimi was alive. Text messages proving everyone knew what was happening. Interview footage catching them in lie after lie. And then there's the deception that came after death. The storage bin moved from Farmington to New Britain. The Zoom call with the imposter child. The notes planning a podcast appearance. Every piece of evidence showing this wasn't neglect. This was murder, followed by an elaborate cover-up. When this evidence is presented at trial, there will be no room for reasonable doubt. The defense can claim abuse, coercion, fear. But you can't argue with forensic evidence. You can't argue with photographs of a child restrained and starving. You can't argue with a body that weighed 27 pounds. Mimi's death has sparked outrage across Connecticut and the nation. Lawmakers are demanding answers, families are demanding reform, and Mimi's father is demanding accountability. December 2025. Victor Torres, representing his daughter's estate, files paperwork to sue the Department of Children and Families for $100 million. The lawsuit alleges DCF failed to protect Mimi through multiple interactions with the family, inadequate wellness checks, and accepting an imposter child during that Zoom call. But beyond the lawsuit, something bigger is happening. Connecticut lawmakers are proposing sweeping reforms they're calling Mimi's Law. Mandatory annual in-person wellness checks for all homeschooled children. No more Zoom calls. No more taking parental word. Photo ID verification for every child. A database tracking homeschooled students so they can't disappear from the system. Enhanced background checks for anyone living in a home with children. Preventing convicted child abusers from moving in with families on parole. Longer, more thorough custody hearings that actually review criminal histories and DCF involvement. This community isn't just mourning, they're mobilizing, because Mimi's story isn't unique. It's just the one that got attention. How many other children are homeschooled with no oversight? How many families do DCF close cases on too quickly? How many custody decisions are made in 10 minutes without real investigation? Part of the problem is resources. DCF has lost nearly 200 employees in recent years. Caseworkers are overwhelmed, managing impossibly large caseloads. They're asked to protect vulnerable children while understaffed, underfunded, and burning out at alarming rates. Reform requires more than new policies. It requires investment, more caseworkers, better training, lower caseload ratios, support systems that actually work. Because laws only protect children if they're enforced, and systems only work if they're properly funded. Mimi should be 12 years old right now. She should be in middle school, making friends, discovering who she is, living with her father, who fought so hard to see her. Instead, she's buried in Connecticut, her life stolen by the people who were supposed to love her. The trial will answer some questions. Who did what? Who's most responsible? What sentence fits this crime? But it won't answer the question everyone is asking. Why? Why would a mother starve her own child? Why would a boyfriend participate? Why would an aunt document abuse and do nothing? There are theories. Resentment that Mimi wasn't Nanita's biological child, toxic relationship dynamics, mental illness, financial stress. But none of them make sense. None of them justify what happened. Some evil defies understanding. Another question keeps people awake at night. The child who pretended to be Mimi on that Zoom call. Who coached her? What did they tell her? Does she understand what she participated in? And most importantly, is she safe now? When asked about this child's welfare, Connecticut's governor gave a response that shocked many. He said the child looked pretty good in the video and chuckled. Public backlash was immediate. This isn't funny. This child witnessed her sister's murder, possibly participated in the cover-up, and now carries trauma that will last a lifetime. The lawsuit seeks $25 million for Mimi's sister's abuse and suffering. But money can't undo what she saw, what she lived through, what she lost. 3 people will face trial for murdering Mimi. They may spend life in prison. That's justice. But where's accountability for everyone else? The judge who granted custody in 10 minutes? The DCF workers who accepted a Zoom call with an imposter? The system that let a convicted child abuser live with children? Carla Garcia made choices. Jonathan Nanita made choices. Jacqueline Garcia made choices. But the system also made choices. To underfund child protective services. to rush custody decisions, to allow homeschooled children to disappear from oversight, to close cases without proper follow-up. Mimi fell through cracks that shouldn't exist, and until we close those cracks, more children will fall through them. Mimi's grandfather said she was everything to him. Her father said he tried everything to save her, and now they're left with memories, grief, and the unbearable weight of what-ifs. What if the judge had looked closer? What if DCF had required in-person checks? What if someone had believed her father when he said something was wrong? But there are no do-overs. Mimi is gone. Mimi's law is moving through Connecticut's legislature. It's a start. But this isn't just Connecticut's problem. This is America's problem. Vulnerable children falling through cracks, dying in homes that should be safe, disappeared by people who should protect them. The trial is coming. Evidence will be presented. Verdicts will be rendered. And 3 people will face the consequences of their choices. But the real test is what happens after. Whether we actually change the systems that failed Mimi. Whether we protect the next vulnerable child. Whether her death means something. Justice for Mimi is still unfolding. But her legacy, the laws that might save future children, that's already being written. Should homeschooled children have mandatory wellness checks? Should convicted abusers be banned from living with kids? Should custody hearings require real investigation? What do you think? Let us know in the comments. And if you want to follow this case as it develops, hit subscribe. Rest in peace, Jacqueline Mimi Torres Garcia. You deserved so much more.